Hello, welcome back. My name is Jerry. In this video, I'll be showing you step by step how to assemble a beginner level paper model from creativevilla.com, where you can find lots of fun paper model templates ranging from beginner to advanced in a variety of categories. Before we start, I want to show the finished assembled tombstones. I will be painting these with granite spray paint to make them look like stone. Stick around to see the finished painted models at the end of the video. I'll start with the top of tombstone number 13 and then assemble its base, and then move on to the other two. For this project, you will need the following: 8.5 by 11 inch paper around 80-pound thickness or similar weight cardstock, a scoring tool or dull edge knife for scoring fold lines. You can find scoring tools at your local hobby store or of course online. A model or paper craft cutting knife. I will be using and recommend a sharp X-Acto type knife. These are extremely sharp and are definitely an adult tool, so please be careful when using an X-Acto knife. A straight edge for cutting and scoring. I recommend a transparent straight edge so you can see what's underneath. I'll be using a small clear drafting triangle, which you can see is pretty beat up but works just fine. And lastly, quick drying model glue or superglue, which is what I use and recommend for fast gluing to keep your project moving along quickly. The downside to superglue, as you will see in most of my videos, it's easy to glue your fingers to the paper or to each other, so please be careful when using superglue with your projects. Let's get started. I've downloaded the templates from creativevilla.com and have printed out the instructions on plain paper and printed templates on my 80-pound thicker paper. Every paper model template comes with an instruction sheet detailing the difficulty level of this particular model, how many pieces of paper you will need, as well as some short but detailed instructions on recommended assembly. Creative Villa paper models are broken up into elements. These elements are usually assembled individually and then attached to other elements as the model progresses until the entire model is complete. Note the pro tips at the bottom of the page. Assemble from small to large, from center to out, and from inside enclosed areas to open areas. Imagine painting a floor. You wouldn't start at the door and end up in the corner and get stuck. Same principle applies here when assembling paper models. I will be following the instructions at the bottom of the sheet, as well as giving you any tips or recommended techniques along the way. If this is your first time putting together a paper model from creativevilla.com, I'll go over a few concepts which apply to nearly all the models on the site. Templates are comprised of individual pieces, which get glued to other pieces to create what is called an element. An element is a completed section of a model, and many times will be attached to other elements. An example of this is an arm element being attached to a body element. You would assemble the arm and body separately, and then attach them together. In this case, we only have a top and a base to worry about, so it's a pretty simple assembly. On all the templates, you will see different types of lines which make up each piece. A solid line which surrounds the piece. This is what you will cut out with your knife. A line with long dashes. This is a fold line. It will need to be scored and then folded away from you. This would represent an edge of a table, for example. A line made up of dots is a fold line as well, but will be folded towards you. Think of this as where a wall in your room meets the floor. The tabs are where you will put glue to attach the pieces together. Each tab has a letter, or in some cases, a number. Line up the matching letters or numbers to each other. Tabs starting with letters represent attaching pieces within an element, like an arm, for example. Tabs starting with numbers represent attaching two elements together, like an arm to a body. I prefer to score the fold lines before cutting out the individual pieces. It's just easier, in my opinion, to score a large sheet rather than small little bits of paper. Once I score the pieces on a sheet, I'll then cut them out one at a time, carefully fold the score lines, and start attaching them to each other with glue. You will notice on some templates a start here note. This is a recommended starting place. Some templates might also have numbers in black circles that represent assembly order. This is usually for more complex models, where an order of assembly is recommended for best results. Be on the lookout for additional notes on the template sheets, such as glue this piece last. That phrase will usually be on the bottom of models as you work your way to closing up the element. I'll go ahead and score all the fold lines on this first page. I'll start here and work my way through all of them, and then start cutting out the individual pieces and elements. I'll score this first piece, and then fast forward through the rest on this sheet, so you don't have to fall asleep watching me score all these lines. When I'm done scoring, I'll begin cutting out each element one at a time. Alright, let's start cutting out our first piece. I'm using the straight edge on the solid cut lines to make sure I have a nice straight cut. I won't bother cutting the little tabs out with the straight edge, as they don't have to be perfect, and you won't see them anyway. And there you have it, our first piece. I prefer to cut each piece out, then fold and glue them one at a time. This helps keep your uncut pieces all in one place, so they don't get lost or misplaced. You always know where they are at, and how many you have left to cut out. I'll start folding this piece carefully. Remember, dashed lines fold away from you, and dotted lines fold towards you. This is where attention to scoring comes to either haunt or reward you. A good sharp score makes a good fold, remember that. For this particular model, it is assumed that you will be painting it after it's complete. The numbers and lines will be on the outside of the model. Being able to see the lines really helps with lining up and gluing the tabs accurately. I'm using very little glue on these tiny tabs. A little super glue goes a very long way. Okay, that is our first piece. Now I'll cut out the last piece of this element and close up the bottom by carefully attaching the bottom piece last per the recommended notes. A quick request regarding your scraps. Please consider recycling your paper scraps. These will go back into the system to produce products you use every day like cardboard, paper towels, and newspapers. Alright, the base of Tombstone 13 is pretty simple. It's made up of 3 blocks, stacked on top of each other. And then the top part sits on top of that. I'm going to score, cut out, and then glue part 1, which is the bottom part of the base. Then I'll fast forward through parts 2 and 3 as they are very similar, and then I'll glue them all together to create the final Tombstone 13 piece. Okay, all the individual pieces are now ready to glue together to create the final Tombstone 13 model. I like to offset them just a bit so they don't look perfect. As if they've been around for a while, you know, give it a bit of character. And there is the completed Tombstone 13. I'm going to fast forward through the boring parts of Tombstones 14 and 15, but stop for any tips or techniques. Quick tip here, I'm not going to glue all the tabs down. Instead, I'm going to attach all 4 sides at the top, and then work down row by row. This allows your fingers easier access to the tabs while gluing. If you completed the model column by column instead, you might have some challenges on the last column, lining up the tabs properly. This is the painted floor analogy in practice. Now I'll glue the top to the bottom piece. Okay, Tombstone 14 is complete. For Tombstone 15, I'm going to assemble the top piece first, and then assemble the base pieces in order from the ground up. Once again, I'm going to glue each row and work my way down. This is a good concept to keep in mind for things like fingers, arms, legs, and tails, for instance. I'll follow the piece order on these pages with piece 2, then 3, then 4. These little corner tabs are very small, so I want to make sure I have a good score, and then take my time gluing them in place. If you can master these little guys, you'll be on your way to advanced models in no time. I'm going to glue this first tab here to secure the little window part. Then from behind, I can easily access the other tabs for gluing and holding in place. Alright, that is all the individual pieces. Now to glue and stack them together. And here we have all the completed tombstones from set number 5, 13, 14, and 15. If you are wondering why they are named that, they are part of a larger collection, and there are tombstones 1 through 12 as well. Here are the final painted tombstones. I've spray painted them with Krylon Fine Stone Spray Paint, which you can find at your local hobby stores or online, of course. Tombstone Set 5 is available on its own for download and includes these 3 projects. In addition, this set is also part of the larger Tombstone collection, which is made up of sets 1 through 5 and includes 15 individual tombstone projects, which you can mix and match to literally make hundreds of variations. That completes this assemble video. I hope you got some good tips and ideas that you can bring to your own projects. You can find the link to this digital download project and many others from creativevilla.com in the description below. If you have any suggestions for future assemble videos, let us know in the comments below. Thanks and best wishes.
You can find more fun paper model templates like this one over at creativevilla.com. If you enjoyed this video, please tap the like button and subscribe to our channel to get notified when new videos are posted. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.